Hey, what's going on, guys? Today's going to be a different video. We're going to go over all of the different illusions that I currently have access to, as far as whether that be masks or some of my spells that I have that will cast different illusions on me. I just wanted to go over, everything that I have here. I'll go as slow as possible. I will, show the item that I'm using, and from my understanding where you can get it. A lot of these are illusions that I've just bought off the marketplace, so a lot of them I'm not super familiar with. A good chunk of them will be old world drops, and a good chunk of them will also be, prize drops and stuff like that as well. So, let's just go down the list. Let's start up at the top here. We have Burning Neck Guard of the Titan. This is the illusion Firebone skeleton that I got pretty recently. I'm a huge fan of it. I think it looks really, really cool. Next up we have Bracer of the Centaur Archer. This is definitely another later illusion. I am honestly not a huge fan of the way it looks because of all the smudged graphics and everything, and like the forced lighting on the face and the abs and stuff. I just don't think it looks that good. I would honestly prefer that it looks like the old school classic EverQuest centaurs. If there was a way to toggle that on or off, I think that would look way better. Next up, we've got the Polymorph Wand, Izon, or Izon, whatever you want to call it. This is definitely a much later addition to the game. I actually really like it because it reminds me a lot of stuff from the Veil of Alaris expansion, which I really thought was pretty underrated. I really liked it because it was basically just gods from an alternate dimension. I thought that was pretty cool. The next one we have here is Visage of the King Gragnar, which I think is pretty cool. It's a later Kobold graphic. I think it actually looks pretty cool personally. I like what they did with Kobolds because I feel like it still keeps true to the original, but it just looks a little bit shinier, a little bit cooler. I like the way it looks. I like the way they sound as well. I'm actually a pretty big fan of the Kobold illusion. Next up, we've got Thick Ice-Studded Collar, which is one I got very recently. It's also level 75. So it's probably also going to be something from the same expansion as my Burning Neck Guard of the Titan. This one I really like. I've always liked the way the Sporli look. The way their feet all dangle down like roots. They got shiny effects on them. It's a cool little shade of purple. They got the glowing, cool, evil eyes. Reminds me so much of the Sporli from the, what is that low-level EverQuest zone? I can never remember the name. Big fan of it. Like I said, I just got it, so I'm probably going to be using it just a little bit more. Next is Visage of the Fadark Forest Guardian. Another favorite, also one of the most expensive illusions. Thankfully, I didn't have to spend money on it. As you can see looking in the background, certain parts of the environment and graphics look really weird on the wings. Like all the railings in the back will just shine through the color of the wings for some reason. Anyways, this one's cool because it also adds a permanent levitate illusion on you, which makes sense because you've got wings. But it normally would sell for 4 or 5 chrono on the marketplace. Because it was from the, I think it was the Feardoll or the tier. I think it was the Feardoll package. There for a while, there was a, there's a package of different illusions and glamours and stuff that you could get, and it was from that. And apparently, it was pretty rare. I remember I spent $50 on boxes to open them and to kind of get different chances at it, and I got it on my second box. So that's one of my favorite as far as rarities. This is definitely one of my favorites, the way it looks. It looks very cool. Very cool in my opinion. It's just got a whole lot of darkening effects on the screen, and I know people in the past have commented saying that they don't like the way it darkens everything. It kind of messes with the graphics whenever I'm streaming, so people always say that they're not a big fan of it. I really like it. I use it a lot whenever I'm not streaming. Looks very cool in my opinion. That's just a marketplace illusion. Lightning Warrior, which you'll recognize from Omens of War. Another one of my favorites. Looks really cool. In most zones that I go through, this illusion itself scales differently as far as size. In a lot of the Omens of War expansions I've noticed, I'm like twice as tall. I'm normally like as tall as these cliff golems over here in the background in some of the Omens of War expansions. I don't know how the scaling works. I don't know why it works like that, but that's just what it does. It's a marketplace item. And then we've got Mask of Scaled Cunning, which is another very rare illusion that I got recently in one of my videos. Looks really, really cool in my opinion. It just sucks because obviously it's not going to show your weapons. I mean, because you're a wyvern. Next up we have Visage of the Rivervale Deputy, which is pretty self-explanatory. The most expensive illusion I've ever spent money on. It's cost me 5 chrono to get. But it was well worth it because it's the classic Rivervale Deputy graphics, which I think is really cool. Makes you look like a tiny little Zorro. Next up we have Visage of the Stone Grabber, which this one is straight up out of EverQuest 2 that someone let me know. This is like the Stone Grabber Golem illusion from EverQuest 2. Whenever you're attacking, like your avatar will rip its arm off and smack the enemy with it. Very, very cool in my opinion. This is from the logging in during the anniversary event, which I think you can still get. If you are an all-access player and you sign in, you can get that illusion. You just have to go through and refresh your claims, and you can grab it. This one I also got very, very recently in one of my videos. Ifriti Death Visage. This was, I'm going to put it very plainly, this was a pain in the ass to get. This took me like a solid 8 hours of grind time. And to be honest, half the items I got, I just bought off the marketplace. Not the marketplace, but the bazaar, because people were selling them. So I could kind of cut some of the grind time down. Probably normally goes much longer than that. Very, very cool. Also from the level 75 expansion. They added some really cool illusions for that expansion, as you can see. But this is one of my favorites. I just wish it was the classic Ifriti Death Visage. I wish it was the classic Spectre. But I'll take it. I think it's really cool. I'm very, very proud of the way I got. It's also one of the only no trade items on the server. So, very, very cool. Blood Metal Inlaid Knowlish Totem, which, you know, it's cool. It's just the redone Knoll graphic, which kind of pisses me off again. All the redone ones. I wish you could toggle it on and off and look like the classic graphics. Pretty self-explanatory. Circlet of Disguise. This is a classic EverQuest illusion item, and by classic I mean it is from the one of the base expansions. This is from Lucklin. Looks a little odd on me for the equipment that I have geared, but this is the Illusion Human. Usable by any. It's from Lucklin. Then we have Doll's Mask. Also, one of my favorites. That was a gift from a viewer. Makes you look like a freaky little doll. Also not a big fan because it makes me a girl, but you know, it is what it is. And then another Vexthal illusion, Veil of Flames. Classic EverQuest item because it takes 10 seconds to cast the spell. Turns you into a fire elemental, which is, again, self-explanatory. Also gives you a damage shield, so it's pretty cool. Guys of the Deceiver, which I'm a Dark Elf casting a Dark Elf graphic on myself, so it's obviously not going to do anything. Classic EverQuest item. Ooh, We already did that one. Next up, we've got Woven Shadowstone, which is this... Oh, wow, that looks very odd with the hero graphics. Okay, so this is the Illusion Frogwalk, or Gukton. Just look like, again, it just looks weird because of the armor. That is from the Demi-Plane of Blood from the first raid boss. And then a Valius graphic item. Besmirched Mask of Conception. This is Illusion Dwarf. One of my favorites, because whenever you're running and jumping, your character will roll over and tumble. Then we have Jansviel. Another very, very cool graphic. One of the actual better redone graphics they ended up introducing for the Ifritis later on. I think it looks very cool. Also gives you a very fancy damage shield. So that is what that looks like. Then now we have Illusion Earth Elemental. That is from our Ball of Golem clay. To this day, still one of my all-time favorite illusions. It's hard to take that one off. And we have one that I pretty much never use. This is Visage of this Simonium minion. I mean, pretty self-explanatory. I think it looks very lifeless and very creepy in the face. So I pretty much never really have that on. Then we have Flayed Barbarian Hide Mask. Another Valius illusion. Turns you into big old buff Barbarian. And then since I can't get my hands on the Mask of Tinkering anymore, this is the replacement gnome illusion that you can end up getting. It's called Eyepiece of the Fancy Tinker. Probably the absolute latest expansion item, because it's a level 85. So this is like a House of Thule item, I think. Level 85. Definitely something that you won't see in Classic EverQuest ever. Since we can't get Mask of Tinkering anymore, that's the replacement. And Form of Crystalline Heads, which is probably my most hated illusion. Because it is just horrific, as you can see. I think it looks like the most smudged pile of crap ever. Because instead of actually looking like jagged crystals on the character, you just look like a Halloween ornament. Just a pink smudge. I thought it was really going to be cool with Hydra heads. I thought it would look something different than that, but definitely not a fan. That is the Form of Crystalline Heads. And then we have the absolute classic Amulet of Necropotence. You can get that from basically any of the golems in Plane of Fear. So that is an actual classic EverQuest illusion. Next up, we have Filth Covered Mask. My second most hated mask. You'll probably never see me actually use, because it makes you look like a disgusting pus pupil covered pig. Pretty gross, if you ask me. Pretty gross. That is the Filth Covered Mask. Now we've got Bernous of the Half-Breed, which is a farmable item in Jagged Pine Forest. On my old rogue back in the day, I spent probably 2 or 3 days mindlessly farming to get this item. Still one of my favorites. Another, I think it was a Gates of Discord expansion zone they ended up adding. Jagged Pine Forest was redone and added later on. Now we've got Mask of Chittari. Redone little rat look. I would have vastly preferred if it was the actual Valius Chittari. Pretty self-explanatory. It's a nice little self-shrink. And then Sarnak. I still use this one a lot because I really like the fact that it's a classic Sarnak graphic. There is also a new Sarnak graphic item that you can end up getting that I think actually looks pretty good. It's one of the better redone illusion graphics they ended up adding later on in the game. But pretty much nothing really beats the classic Sarnak graphic from Kunark. Another one that I really like using is Mask of Oseka's Servant. Turns you into a giant sea creature, which I think actually looks pretty cool. There is another version of this you can get in the marketplace that has some fancier shinier equipment on it. Visage of the Frozen Goblin, which this one is a, you can do this from a quest. You can get this item from a quest. It was a Frostfell event mask. The tiniest little illusion character I have aside from Gnome. I think it looks pretty cool. Big fan. And then we got Crown of Deceit, which is our Fear Doll illusion. Makes us look like a wood elf, which to this day is probably one of my favorites as well. Looking like a wood elf rogue is always cool because I love being a wood elf rogue. Guise of the Hunter, which is Vashir. This is one that was added, of course, with the Lucklin expansion. This is a Sra Temple item. It is what it is. I just don't necessarily like looking like a furry. Then we have Mask of Obtenebration. Really thought that they did the Rudites dirty by giving them the giant heads like that. I get why they did it because they're supposed to be the most intelligent species. I just think the classic Erudite illusion is much more flattering. I really like Erudites with robes. I think they look pretty cool because it fits the big brain. They're all supposed to be very smart and magical beings. Ixar Hide Mask. You guys know how much I love this one because I'm an Ixar in like half of my videos. I always wish an Ixar rogue would have been something they would have let us do, but you know, here we are. I also think the equipment I have on looks best on Ixars because, you know, it gives you buff enough arms and a chest that it actually looks like it fits the equipment. As opposed to half of them, like the equipment and shoulder pads are just kind of levitating over your character's arms. Then we have Visage of Queen Pizia. Makes it look like a giant queen bee, which is pretty cool. I got one of those recently. Haven't really used it that much. Then we have Visage of the Brute, which is for some reason still one of the most expensive illusions on the server. Self-explanatory, being a giant ogre. Just, of course, I don't like being one because it makes you just look like a giant potato face. Then we have our Visage of the Ice Golem, which I really like because it looks like straight out of the Lost Dungeons of Norath ice golems that you would fight in the Everfrost. Really a big fan of that because I like whenever you get close enough, you just can't really see it in this light, but it kind of shines. I think that one looks pretty cool. And Visage of the Crystal Golem, which is a lesser cool version of it in my opinion. Turns you into like a dull beige color with green crystals poking out of you. Looks alright. I just wish the green crystals were more vibrant. If they were like a giant neon or fluorescent green, I would probably be happier with those. That is all 40 masks in this bag right here. I also have some in this right here. Some that I got very recently. Here is Guise of the Courser, which is High Elf. I got that one literally just yesterday. High Elf looking all fancy. Self-explanatory, it's also a classic item. This one I also got last week. I completely forgot about it. It's Schuliskin Trickster Mask. It's required level 60, recommended level 68. If I remember correctly, I think this is an item that they ended up adding with Omens of War at some point. I might be wrong, but turns you into a water elemental. So as you've seen, I have fire, water, and earth elemental. I would really like a werewolf and a air elemental illusion. Those are pretty much two of the masks I really, really want to get at some point. And then we have our Dusty Strange Bone Mask, which turns you into a close to classic Ixar skeleton. It's the redone version, but it's as close as we're going to get. Really big fan of this. Also the way that he runs, it looks very terrifying. Visage of the Stone Gargoyle. Makes you look like Valak the Cruel from Demiplane of Blood. I think this one is also pretty cool. Looks like a really cool Halloween. Then we have Tiny Bone Bracelet, which is another Vexthal illusion. You won't really see me ever use this one because it's the same exact illusion of Amulet of Necropotence. Just Amulet of Necropotence is an instant clicky, and that's a 4-second time cast. Visage of Emperor Dragon. Very Cthulhu-esque Depths of Dark Hollow illusion, which I think is fantastic. Big fan of that one. Here we go. Okay. So we've got, let me do a couple disguises that you haven't seen. These have a minute-long timer, so we might just show a couple of these. This is the illusion Bernous, which I don't think I've ever used on screen. And as you can see, it's kind of annoying because as you zoom in closer, the centering is very off. It takes you up to like a foot or two above your head. It looks really cool though. That's probably one of the better redone graphics that they've ever done in this game. This is the redone Bernous graphic from Kunark. Takes me straight back to our Kern's Tower times. I think it looks fantastic. I just don't really use it that often because again, those have a very long, let's see here. We've also got Barbarian, Erudite, Half-Elf, Human, and Troll. Let's do this. Shisar, Disguised Shisar. Which I think is pretty cool because again, this is the redone version. But if you've seen any of my older videos, you've probably seen this Shisar illusion straight out of the Buried Sea. It's also in the Darkened Sea because like the entire Catacastrum area, Sunken Catacastrum, this is like one of the main enemies that you're going to end up fighting. I think it's pretty cool. I would just vastly prefer, again, for it to be the classic Luclin Shisar graphic. I do like how whenever you're moving, it actually kind of wiggles your tail along as well. So it fits the role. It looks cool. I just wish that there, again, was the Luclin graphic instead. And one last one that we'll show you is Disguised Troll, because I've never seen a troll illusion mask. If I have, then I'm just not remembering it. But this is Troll, our big old pimple face bastard with the beer belly gut. Yeah, so I think that is every illusion I have here. Pretty close to 50 or so illusions. I'm still missing quite a few. I still have a couple dream illusions I think would be really cool, and by dream illusions I mean I really want them, I just can't seem to find anybody selling them. There is an illusion Mastruk item that's a prize graphic. It makes you look just like the Mastruks from Gates of Discord. I'll need to find a picture and put it up on the screen. There's one for them. Really, really, really want it. If you were on the Furion V server and you have that mask and you're willing to sell it, let me know. I will pay good. Out of all of these, it's really difficult for me to pick a favorite because there are some that are marketplace items that I really like. Some are classic items. Some are just classic EverQuest illusions like Ixar. I mean, I really like the Ixar graphic. But the one I'm probably the most proud of getting for myself is probably just the Afridi Death Visage, just because I actually had to work to get that. I couldn't just buy a chrono from the marketplace and then trade chrono for the item. I actually had to work to get this illusion. So anyways guys, that is it. Short enough video. That's all my illusions. I will check you in the next one.